today, I don't know if you know, Elizabeth Edwards passed away.
No.
This was John Edwards' wife. They've been separated for a couple years now. John Edwards ran for the Democratic nomination for 2008. So that man came very close to being our president. And if you remember, I really hate to bring this up because Elizabeth had just passed away and I'm sure she was really wonderful. He had the scandal with a woman.
Right.
That he had an affair with, and then it's, oh, Elizabeth had cancer. Like, she supported him. She helped him get very close to being nominated. Oh my God, how could he do this? He had a child with her and then lied about the child. And it just struck me that is part of this legacy of these three people. Did he need sex so badly that he did that? Like,
I don't think it's a matter of sex necessarily. I think most affairs come out of a need for intimacy. And a need for reaffirmation of your own sexuality. I mean, even if you're with someone that you are totally in love with and they're amazing and you love being with them and you love everything about them, it still feels really, really good when someone else flirts with you. It still feels really, really good when someone else acknowledges your sexuality. And that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the relationship that you're in.
Yeah.
Because that relationship could be absolutely wonderful, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't feel good when someone else acknowledges who you are as a sexual being. That you might pursue that, again, doesn't necessarily reflect on the relationship, the main relationship that you have. It may, but it doesn't necessarily reflect on that. It may be that, that you're fulfilling, it's sexy, it's interesting, it's new, it's different.
That things like that are what they make me start to believe that, maybe poly people know what's up. Maybe poly people are just taking care of, people aren't getting hurt if you deal with it head on.
Absolutely, and I think that's what we're seeing as far as the recent research that's coming out regarding polyamory. There has been recent research kind of showing, I guess, a poly history of human sexuality. That we're seeing that we're not necessarily built to be monogamous, as it were. Men and women, and that there's something to that as long as everybody's being open and honest and everything, then there is no harm.
I'm really starting to believe the whole forever and ever married thing is a hallmark
well, it's like leave it to be.
I think it's insanity that's been sold to people because it's not working.
It doesn't work, and it's like the idea that Leave It to Beaver is the perfect homestead. We've been fed sort of this pablum by the media, and it gets bolstered by public policy, that, this is exactly what we all want to achieve, that the ideal family is a male and a female married with children and a dog in a nuclear thing. And I actually recently, in a class I've been helping to teach this semester, one of the essays that students could write about was to discuss the ideal family as it pertained to this article that they had to read. That pretty much was blowing that out of the water, that the ideal family never has existed. It didn't exist even in the 50s when we were all told it existed.
Yeah.
Because it only existed in television and movies. It didn't exist in reality. In the 50s, there were single-parent households, and in the 50s, there were gays and lesbians, and in the 50s, there were children being raised by grandparents, or adopted children, or foster children, or, a variety of other possibilities. There was divorce. So the idea that this perfect family ever existed is totally wrong. It never existed.
But man, there are people who knock themselves out doing it, though.
Oh, really? Yeah, they spend a lot of time and energy on it.
They get married at age 21, but then by 42, they're like, I can't take this anymore. And one of them wants something different. Because they've been so preoccupied with house, car, babies, jobs. and then it starts to like, okay, the kids are growing up, they're leaving, holy shit, I have to like look you in the face now, like every single day, I don't even like you anymore, like, yeah. And I'm not saying anything new. This isn't like, this doesn't mean I'm ready to cross over to the poly side either. I'm like, I can't even maintain I can't even meet one person. I'm like, okay. Trust me, I'm not gonna,
Don't worry about it. Yeah, and they're right. I'm seeing in, our chat room, I'm saying marriage is a social contract sometimes connected with religion, which is absolutely correct. And it's a social construct, not just a contract.
I love that word, construct.
And that's fine. That doesn't mean that there's anything necessarily wrong with it. But one needs to be willing to accept that there are other possibilities and other ways to do healthy relationships that aren't necessarily linked to marriage or aren't necessarily linked to religion.
Yeah, and when your religious beliefs inflict our rights, when you're like passing laws and voting on laws, like Prop 8.
Yeah.
How is that going today? It went to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals today.
Okay.
I'm not sure what's happening, except that I think the flip side is that nobody can show the bad things about same-sex marriage, or they're not trying to work on the constitutionality. I kind of halfway heard it, so I can't really talk about it today.